All right, we're live. Let me make sure my mic is live. Okay. What up, tunes? It's your boy, Mavs the Machine. So I just wanted to take some time out and react to this video. Everybody's up in arms right now about Sony not doing physical media anymore, starting supposedly January 2028. So I wanted to jump into it and see what I can contribute, if it's just my opinions. Excuse me. And let's discuss a little bit about what's going on. So let me go ahead and do this. Oh, we're still there. And yeah.
Creed. In fact, it may be one of the fastest selling games in the franchise's 19-year history. Ubisoft has spent years talking about players instead of actual sales, especially...
Forgot to cue up the video. There we go.
What are you doing?
Nothing. Me? Just hanging around.
Out here on the corner of 44th and 5th Avenue here in New York City for the midnight release of Halo 3.
That's Call of Duty music, for sure. Whenever you heard Call of Duty, that's it.
It's game over for more GameStops, the company announcing it plans to shutter a significant number of locations over the next few months. GameStops have been gradually disappearing. A decade ago, there were about 6,000 of them nationwide, or worldwide, that is, excuse me. But now there's just about 3,200. Company officials say they've had trouble adapting to the streaming era and the way it changed consumer spending habits. Well,
Here are the biggest gaming leaks and news you've probably missed this week. GameStop's CEO recently dismissed Sony's reported plan to stop producing physical discs for new PlayStation games in 2028 as totally irrelevant to the company. And honestly, that response makes perfect sense when you look at what GameStop has become. Physical and digital game software now represent a much smaller part of its business, while collectibles, trading cards, statues, clothing, and pop culture merchandise are doing far more of the heavy lifting. GameStop has been quietly preparing for the decline of physical game sales for years, and you can see the evidence the moment you walk into one of its stores. The walls that used to be packed with rows of PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo games are now filled with Funko Pops, Pokemon cards, anime figures, branded mugs, t-shirts, and whatever piece of gaming merchandise happens to be popular that month. The game sections keep getting smaller, while the collectibles continue spreading across the store like they are slowly taking over the building. That change did not happen because GameStop suddenly developed a deep emotional connection to plastic statues and trading cards. It happened because that is where the money moves. GameStop has closed thousands of stores over the last decade. At its peak, the company operated more than 7,500 locations around the world. But that enormous physical footprint became impossible to maintain once customers stopped visiting stores the way they once did. The numbers are not being twisted, and the data is not somehow lying to protect Sony or Microsoft. People simply do not leave the house to buy video games at launch in the same numbers anymore.
A lot of things are online, PlayStation stores online, everything. So, you know, it's all new and improved things, but we like our old-fashioned going and getting games.
According to hours on GameStop's website, the location on Whitehorse Road is closed Thursday through Friday, but we have not confirmed if it's closing for good.
Do you remember the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 era? I do. And it was completely different. People used to camp outside GameStop for Halo, Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, and major console launches. Midnight releases felt like community events. You would stand in line with complete strangers, talk about the game for hours, finally get your copy, race home, and stay awake until the sun came up. That era was...
I never camped out to buy a game or a console. I kind of missed that of the last generation or era. What the hell am I trying to say? But yeah, I didn't do that.
Exciting, but it was also almost 20 years ago. Today, most people press a button, download the game, and start playing without ever leaving the couch. Why drive to a store, wait in line, and hope the game is still in stock when the entire purchase can be completed in less time than it takes to find your car keys? Gaming is simply following the same road that music and movies traveled before it. People stopped lining up to buy albums, and streaming took over. DVD stores disappeared, Blockbuster collapsed, and Netflix replaced the weekly trip to the video store. Of course, Vinyl collectors still exist, and people still buy Blu-rays. But where is most of the money actually going? It is going to Spotify, Netflix, digital storefronts, subscriptions, and streaming services. Gaming is no different. Most players are already locked into PlayStation Plus, Game Pass, Steam, and other digital ecosystems. Even when we barely use those subscriptions for an entire month, many of us keep paying because the convenience is difficult to give up. Your entire library is sitting on the screen, ready to open instantly, like a refrigerator full of food you keep promising yourself you will eventually finish. That does not mean digital games are always better, and it certainly does not mean they are always cheaper. People constantly share comparison screenshots showing a $10 physical copy on Amazon beside the same game selling for $50 on the PlayStation Store or Xbox Store. Those screenshots are real, and the price differences can be ridiculous, but they rarely tell the entire story. You have to ask why that physical copy is so cheap. Sometimes it is old stock that a retailer desperately wants to clear. Sometimes the game has already been added to Game Pass or PlayStation Plus. Sometimes demand has completely disappeared, and the store would rather sell the game for almost nothing than keep wasting shelf space on it. That $10 physical copy is not always proof that physical gaming is thriving. Sometimes it is proof that the store cannot get rid of the product fast enough. At the same time, digital storefronts are not permanently frozen at full price. PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam run major sales constantly, and there are also countless websites selling digital codes for extremely low prices. I am not naming any of them because I am not doing free sponsorships, but anyone with access to a search engine can find them. This is why the physical versus digital debate is often far more complicated than people make it sound. Physical games can offer incredible value, but digital games can also become ridiculously cheap during sales. Both markets have bargains, and both markets have prices that make absolutely no sense. To be clear, I am not celebrating the death of physical media because I think it is genuinely sad. Collectors are losing choices. Ownership is becoming weaker. Preservation is becoming more difficult. When your entire library depends on an account, a server, or a company continuing to support a platform, you do not truly control it in the same way you control a disc sitting on your shelf. That should concern people. Sony moving away from physical games deserves criticism because it gives consumers fewer options, and fewer options are almost never good for the customer. However, criticizing Sony's decision does not mean we should pretend the physical market is healthier than it actually is. The money tells the story, the empty stores tell the story, and those microscopic game aisles hiding in the corner of supermarkets tell the story. GameStop did not replace half its games with trading cards because executives suddenly decided cardboard was the future of artistic expression. They did it because customers were spending more money on Pokemon cards, collectibles.
So, I mean, let me play devil's advocate here, right? If you were the owner of Sony, if you were the head director, and you're taking a look at the gaming market and what's going on in the world, and a lot of people, I'm not saying that everyone is buying digital, but you can see the benefit of the digital market to where you're saving money by not having to produce discs, but you're just selling digital products. What's wrong with my brain? So, of course, as a business move, it makes sense, right? And a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, you're a Sony pony boy." Yes, I'm a Sony fan. I'm just being the devil's advocate right now. I'll give you my personal opinion a little bit later on.
And merchandise than they were on new physical releases. The company adapted because it had no choice. That is why GameStop can say Sony ending physical game production does not really affect them. Of course it does not affect them the way it would have 15 years ago, because GameStop is barely the same business anymore. People do not primarily walk into GameStop to buy a brand new PlayStation game. They go there for trading cards, collectibles, used hardware, accessories, and merchandise. Physical games are still part of the store, but they are no longer the main attraction. The physical game business has already been hollowed out. Sony is not planning to destroy a thriving marketplace in 2028. It is preparing to close the door on a building that has been slowly emptying for years. I understand why that sounds harsh, especially to collectors who still love opening a case, holding a disc, reading the cover, and seeing an actual library sitting on a shelf. There is something personal about physical media that a digital icon can never replace. However, nostalgia and market reality are not the same thing. We used to have enormous game sections in supermarkets, electronic stores, and shopping malls. Entire aisles were dedicated to PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo, and you could spend 20 minutes just browsing the shelves. Now those sections look like someone put them through the washing machine. Every year they get smaller. Every year there are fewer copies, and every year more people choose to download instead. So no, the numbers are not skewed. People stopped going out to buy physical games in the same way they stopped going out to buy CDs and DVDs. The change did not happen overnight, but it has been happening right in front of us for more than a decade. That does not mean physical media has no value, and it does not mean collectors should stop fighting for it. It simply means physical media no longer controls the market. By the time Sony reportedly pulls the plug in 2028, it may not feel like the moment physical gaming died. It may simply feel like the moment the industry finally admitted that the funeral started years ago. Black Flag Resync.
Okay, Black Flag. Never really got into the Assassin's Creed titles too much, but I've heard Black Flag is a good game. So if you're interested, you might want to go ahead and check that out. So going back to this whole thing, right? My personal opinion is this. I love both. I collect digital because of the convenience. You don't have to go and switch discs when you want to switch games. Discs presented a big, huge problem whenever they got scratched. The games were damn near just unplayable. The more you lend it to a friend or your little brother or little sister fucks it up, it's just not going to play. So you end up having to buy the game again. So both have their pros and cons, right? Digital, the biggest pro, or the biggest con, I should say right now, is Sony saying they're going to stop doing physical and be all digital. However, the issue is, do you truly own those games? Can Sony take away your license at any time? At this point, that's what the lawsuits are about. Is Sony not just trying to corner the market or monopolize their corner of the gaming market? It's that apparently you don't have true ownership of said games. Your digital game library can be taken at any time. That's the part I do not agree with. Even as a Sony boy, I'm a fan, a legacy player since Sony PS1. Do you expect corporations to take the consumer all the way down to the Billy Bobs and Mavs of the machines that buy games and support them? Do you think they really care at the end of the day? If you play Cyberpunk 2077, you would understand where I'm going with this. Sony is basically Arasaka at this point. You know, it's a major corporation. There's hella corpo greed. They do not care about the consumer. What they care about is the bottom line. And that's Sony. You have shareholders that care about their bottom line. So they're selling off their shares because they're looking out there and seeing that, hey, digital media is the way to go. People are not really playing games or buying games like they used to anymore. Let me sell my shares and get out of this Titanic. The issue is I don't think it's a sinking ship. I think if Sony decided to stay their course and do this anyway, regardless of what the fan base says, they're still going to have supporters. People are still going to buy their games. People are still going to buy PS5 or PS6 consoles. It just is what it is. It's corporation. Personally, since I already have a PS5, then yeah, I'll continue to collect Sony exclusives. Wolverine, Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Last of Us, Uncharted, etc., etc. Sony's exclusives just kick ass, plain and simple. They're worth, because I already have a console, they're worth collecting those games. If I was coming into the gaming situation right now and I didn't have a console, I didn't have a Sony, I didn't have an Xbox, I'm deciding if I'm going to go PC, well, that's a different story. I would not buy a PS5 if I was starting my gaming journey right now, because Sony's decision to not grant true ownership is not good. It's just not good. Microsoft just got sued by a Brazilian player because they cut off his account, took all his games. He was able to prove that they did that illegally, wasn't the right move, and he won. Hey, congratulations to that guy, man. Great gaming, good gaming ahead. I'm glad for you, buddy. Now you can buy all the games you want to. If that would have happened to me, I would be switching off of Microsoft so fucking fast. You know, personally, as I'm looking at how I spend my money, Steam and PC seems to be the way to go in terms of just game pricing. However, the price to enter or the price of entrance in buying a PC capable of running games the way PS5s and Xboxes do is incredible. That's crazy. Just with the RAM. The same gaming laptop that I bought 2 years ago now costs 20,000. Well, I'm dealing in Philippine peso, 20,000 more, which is about $400 more. So everything is going up. And this day and age, you got to understand. This is just my personal opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. I don't speak the gospel on this. Me, I understand Sony in their corporate stance. I understand why they came to that decision. Me as a gamer, though, as far as what I'm going to choose to spend my money on, if they keep going down that route, I'm just not going to fuck with Sony that deep anymore. I'll just enjoy the exclusives. Again, since I already have, if I was having to buy one, then no, I'm not going to do that. Again, I'm also a fan of Xbox. I have both. I have a gaming PC. So it was just my personal goal as a kid that didn't have anything, uh, is to one day be an adult and be able to afford all the hobbies that I like. And gaming is one of those hobbies. So that's where my stance is on it. I'll buy what I like and play on whatever platform I see fit. As an adult, I saw this coming down the line. Just like with, it was mentioned in the video, just like with music, physical copies, vinyl copies, cassettes, CDs, those are obsolete. It's obsolete technology at this point. It's up to you to go ahead and collect them. Just like if they're not going to do any physical games anymore, well, Xbox is. Project Helix has already announced that. As far as Sony, I believe they said the PX6 will come with an optional disk drive. It just depends. In a perfect world, I would like to see Sony say, hey, we're not going to go ahead and go full tilt with physical games because we can save a ton of money. That's the truth. So that's the corporal greed. It is what it is. However, if you do want to order a physical copy of a game, expect it to be $20 more than the digital, but we'll do it. We'll press it for you. We know that you're a collector. That's what I would like to see. Like I said, some exclusives, especially Marvel, Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2. I bought the digital version to play because the disc stays on my shelf, sealed and unopened. That way, when my daughter's my age now, she'll be able to hopefully enjoy the collection or sell it off. You know, I ain't going to be around at that time. So that's just my stance on it. But again, my advice would be grow up. If you didn't see this coming down the line because of how music went from physical copies to streaming, how movies went from physical copies to streaming, I don't understand what the hell you're doing. You might be an ostrich with your head in the sand. It's just the way of the world, you know, as technology grows. But yes, I do want ownership of my shit. Sony, you fucking tripping like a crackhead that smoked some bad juju. I hope you change it. I hope you turn it around. I truly do. Because it's just not cool, man. It's not cool. You have millions and billions of dollars in revenue. Why do you have to fuck with the gaming in such a manner? Just give us the ownership of these digital titles that we buy. Otherwise, hey man, sayonara, you know, unfortunately. But anyway, that's just my opinion on this. I'm just a, you know, marijuana smoking gamer talking shit on the internet. So it is what it is. I hope you enjoy your gaming. If you want to link up with me, my PSN ID is Mavs the Machine, just like it's spelled on the screen. Same for Xbox. Let's link up, let's squad up, let's have some good games. In the meantime, hit that like button, hit that sub if you don't mind, and peace.